U.S. intelligence agency, mind control.
It's like a table debate, right? Where she has to debate with normal people to keep her position in elections.
Yeah.
So we can look at
we'll do that
some of that stuff. Like Katie Porter also just had one. For the seat that she's running for. So there's a lot of local election stuff that might be fun to look at. But this year, I want to learn why there's no two-party system from Hasan reacting to this video.
I like that you said,
Reaction time.
Surprisingly, he's not mentioning it. He is mentioning it. I think that's what the entire video is to show. In my opinion, the entire video is to show that. Like,
I'm excited to skip every part that he speaks.
No. It's all good. If that was the case, we'd go watch the original video.
Fair enough.
The Chinese system or the Russian system is not all that different in comparison to the managed democracies that you see.
Oh my God.
Or I guess the phantom democracy that you see in the Western world, or also our allies, right?
Right?
As the Tanzanian anti-colonial leader Julius Nyerere famously said,
"The United States is also a one-party state, but with typical American extravagance. They have two of them."
While hyperbolic, there is some truth
Crazy.
in the picture of this sentence.
Crazy. Would you believe it? You know, it was great when Trump started calling out the elections being fake. It gave credence to dictators all around the world saying, see, even the country that says it's the most democratic is clearly fake too. All democracy is fake. Give up your hope, people. It was one of the greatest gifts to authoritarians around the world.
Yep. And what did we
Undermining
see?
our
a
democracy.
rise.
Oh, it was already rising, but it especially was helped along by Trump.
Yeah.
So many people globally are suffering, and that's the people don't actually care about.
Yeah.
Extremely low voter turnout in the United States. It appears that many regular Americans intuitively sense this as well.
Look at them New Zealand numbers, boy. Low as fuck, son. Good shit. Representing us for fucking when we don't want to vote, but we're forced into it because democracy means forced to vote.
Voter turnout in the United States. It appears that many regular Americans intuitively sense this as well. While this is a common attitude among those who do not vote, most people who consider themselves somewhat political go about their lives acting as if they believe that this is not the case. You'd be quite surprised as to how many people in the mainstream media and mainstream political science departments still believe that the United States is a democratic republic representing the high point of liberal democracy, and that the two main parties, the Democrats and Republicans, are significantly different, and if one of them wins over the other, it represents an existential threat. Because it has two
Futurama did this joke already.
Two parties instead of one, the United States is automatically assumed to be a real liberal democracy like Canada, Britain, and France, unlike the so-called phantom democracies seen in the likes of Russia, Turkey, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Many people with eyes
Hang on. Turkey definitely had a democratic election. And didn't, like, the Philippines also, like they were moving towards like China, and they flipped to put Bing Bong back in, right? Because before they had Dirty in there, who was like, it was like a hard, and like he had a lot of support, right? So like they flipped there. So like, are these phantom democracies? Like Russia being compared to Turkey's democracy is also just like nuts. Like Turkey seized some judicial power. They changed their government a lot. But Erdogan still almost lost that election. It was very close.
But what would have happened had he lost?
That's the question. Then it would be determined if it was a democracy or not.
Yeah.
But still, it'd be like, it's not like Turkey. Fuck off. And also, like, these people, because people like, oh my God, you mean America? 50 countries? Is it run like France, Canada, and Britain? Whoa!
Crazy, right?
What do you mean, bro? Can you believe it? Like, the fucking federal government, the vote for president, like, they try to amp it up like it's the most important vote. Determines the party shift.
America
like
is a republic.
Trump has determined a
a
liberal shift, and that's why they want to like keep him in the limelight, because it's good for them.
The existing
Republicans lose because of him.
Pure democracies. This is obvious. The argument being made in this video and in my other videos involving the United States is not the simple banality that the US is not a true democracy, but rather that it is extremely undemocratic even by liberal democratic standards.
No,
And
it's
despite
not.
being the most liberal of the liberal democracies, at least on paper, it is
Bro.
one of the least democratic ones.
Okay, let me know any other country that can manage 50 fucking countries unified. Right? Like you look at right now, like with this fucking like border crisis, right? Blocking the boat ramp.
Yeah.
Do you remember fucking how many immigrants Poland killed
No.
with their fucking barbed wire fence? And it was
No,
all
I don't.
Kurds freezing
No.
to death out there because Poland wouldn't let them in to Europe through a migrant
I
caravan route.
didn't hear about this at all.
Anyone who's familiar with the Ukrainian and Eastern Europe conflicts, they certainly know what happened there. They know how many people died there. How about all the fucking boats that capsized because of Italy? Right?
Yeah, that I know about.
Hundreds.
Mhm.
How about the Ethiopians that America and Europe both knew that Saudi was fucking hitting with mortars when they tried to cross the border into Saudi Arabia to just to flee like a induced famine, and like not only just Tigrayans but like the people in like the Amharas, right? Like there's a fascist party taking control there, so like all these people are trying to leave Ethiopia. The Belarus migrant crisis, right? Because they trapped these people, right? Belarus pushed them. They were like, hey, this is a safe route. Belarus pushed them out to push them through Poland, and then they closed the door. So they were just in this corridor in the field where they had to like survive in the cold, and it was like winter. Yeah.
More importantly, we will analyze why so many people still buy into the democratic
crazy.
facade despite the evident lack of democracy. We will look at what exactly makes the democratic facade so convincing on a psychological and metaphysical level.
Yeah,
How fake
literally
populists
just to
like Donald
fuck with
Trump actually
just to fuck
reinforce
with
the
the border.
democratic
Like
myth, rather than accelerate its dissolution.
the conflicts that happen in Europe between like not even just like even within the EU is crazy compared to like we're just blocking a boat ramp here. Like what about like just the NATO access with Turkey and what's happening there? It's insane. So like to think like America is not more held together, right? It's like you can pick individual countries. Oh my God, France. Oh, it has a smoother system. It's technically more democratic than America. Oh my God. But like, what about the individual states in America? How do we measure their democracy? Do we care about their democracy, or do we only care about the entire union's democracy? We're going to measure NATO next and the EU next. I mean, the EU is trying to get measured as one. That's how they represent themselves in the economy, right?
How this democratic mythology is deeply embedded in the unique history of America's founding, which has allowed the United States to legitimize its authority at home and abroad more effectively than any dictatorship. By analyzing the simulation of democracy, I will introduce you to Jean Baudrillard's
America
theory of
is more
simulation,
effective than
which
any
is where this relatively
true.
accessible video may start to become a little more complex. By the end of this video, you will get a better understanding of what we can call the two-party matrix.
I didn't even fucking notice that he had walked away. How long has he been gone?
The whole time. He walked away right away. Isn't that awesome?
He's fucked in the head. He's actually fucked in the head. Just quit.
This
Literally
whole argument
just quit.
Around like how the two-party systems are like the same, and it's like Minnesota's out here doing Minnesota shit. Like, come on, like, come on. You know,
immediately.
Michigan has now. Remember how I was saying with the Gaza war, the Muslim and Arab population of Michigan could hold themselves as a block like the Jews do in Brooklyn, right?
Yeah.
Guess what they're doing?
The same. That.
Yeah, they're pressuring Biden hard.
That's awesome.
As a fucking voter block right now. So the fact that you can organize these voter blocks like that, where in the world can
that happen
together?
Yeah.
Let's go, Britain. Let's see it happen in Britain. Let's see, like the like there are people out there yelling genocidal rhetoric towards Muslims in Britain, right on the street, right? That doesn't happen in America. You know, they do it at their rallies behind closed doors.
Yeah, it's just private. Makes it better.
So, like,
the simulation of
minorities in America as well.
Yeah.
There are other countries that are better for minorities, though.
Oh, look, he came back. Oh, look, he's back. Welcome back,
The two-party
dickhead.
matrix. Since 1853, every single U.S. president has been a Democrat.
I swear to God, if he fucking rewinds it.
Bro, he's
We're
gonna
Republican.
say this dude literally just said since 1850. He keeps headphones on, so he's listening when he does stuff.
Okay.
So 18, he's literally saying since 1853, right? Civil War. Every president has
Yeah.
been Democrat or Republican, right? Even LBJ was not the same Democratic Party, right?
Yeah.
Lincoln and Nixon are not the same Republican Party.
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. Like, how is this so hard to comprehend? Like, times change, people change, opinions change.
Like, oh my God, the
standards
parties
change.
are named the same thing.
Yeah.
They're not called fucking Whig anymore.
Yeah, well, the fucking
Andrew
our right-wing
Jackson.
party is called the Liberal Party, so
Yeah,
fucking suck a dick.
Like, why don't we just call them red shirts and blue shirts? You know, like who cares? Oh my God! And also, America was specifically set up to have this at the federal level with a two-party system, right?
Yeah.
It was specifically designed that way. And like
Unlike
other
most countries
states
in
don't
Europe
have
and even
that.
Latin America,
Good for them.
The United States has
Yeah.
never had a serious socialist or social democratic opposition party that represented the working class.
'Cause they're
The
all
Democratic
shit.
Party,
Where?
originally an
What do you
outgrowth of the
mean?
Democratic
What do you
Republican
mean?
Party,
What do you
has
mean?
never been a workers'
Bro,
party or a social.
we literally invented like social democracy. Like that happened here. Like we didn't call it socialism. It happened here. Right? It happened like independent of Marxist analysis. Like that shit is totally different. Right? Like the recovery from the Great Depression. Do we think that wasn't fucking social democracy? Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Just because they didn't fucking call themselves socialists. Shut the fuck up.
Party, like how the Labor Party in the UK used to be.
Also, the
In all
fucking
efforts to-
Progressive Caucus controls a quarter of the fucking House. What do you mean we don't have a fucking socialist opposition party? Fucking morons, bro. Take a civics test. I'm with Vivek now, bro. Civics tests are necessary.
The Democratic Party into one have been thoroughly crushed, often through very undemocratic means. For instance, party elites and powerful financiers within
Did
the
he
Tea
show
Party
Bernie
wield
Sanders
significant
as
influences
an
over-
example? Was that Bernie Sanders? Hang on, go back.
Yes, it
I
was.
looked away. So he said that they've been crushed through undemocratic means, and he showed Bernie Sanders, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How? How was he crushed?
Because he quit, obviously, and endorsed Biden.
Because
And
he
obviously, that was
well,
someone behind the scenes.
Like, look, it'd be like, so Nikki Haley right now, we want her to stay in. We know she's not winning, right? We know that. We're not disillusioned with that. If COVID hit right now and she said, I'm dealing with my own shit, like I'm not running for president, I need to like deal with my state. Would that be her being crushed?
To him, probably.
Was that undemocratic?
for which candidates become leaders. The so-called Democratic Party also has this very undemocratic practice of superdelegates, where the votes of party elites count significantly more than the votes.
Position that they've successfully defended in court that it's a intra-party affair and therefore they have every mod pin link. Yes. Can we pin the link? Phantom Democracy and the two.
Do the governors run the
no
states?
mods in here right now. That's crazy. Mods asleep. Chat. Don't fucking pin that shit.
Of ordinary party members who vote in the primaries. Now, while there are indeed policy differences between the Democrats and Republicans, whose significance is often exaggerated by the rhetoric, whether they have disagreements does not tell us much about the degree of democracy that Americans have.
Okay.
Total ideological unity does not even exist in the most totalitarian states. In one-party states, members of the ruling party often have plenty of ideological differences.
No way! Fucking brain damage. Are you kidding me? Out of all the examples, you've picked fucking modern China. Pick fucking this. Come on, pick fucking Stalin. Like, at least he had opposition, right? You know, like they all died, but like
Putin.
Like, yeah, like,
even better. A modern example.
Actually, Putin is a great example, right? Because the war in Ukraine is literally helping preserve him, right? Because the issue is that he went in 2014 and got hit with the full measure. That's what the people believed, right? So the only people he had left were the Duginists. That's why he embraced Duginism at the end there. And they already said, we've already faced the full measure. Why are we not invading at this point then? Right? So to keep those supporters, that's why it happens.
Yeah.
Those are the same supporters that were fucking cheering Wagner when they were doing their little game.
The rise of various leaders who have differed considerably ideologically and implemented completely different socioeconomic agendas. For instance, just consider how much Nikita Khrushchev differed from Joseph Stalin.
Oh my God, we actually are, dude. Are you? So we're actually not even just comparing modern China; it's all of China. Whoa, crazy! Deng Xiaoping was a fucking revolutionary leader in China. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Oh my God! You know, it's really not that hard when you have to fucking level up from Mao, right? Just same with Nikita.
Yeah.
Like Nikita, it's the reason we're fucking Nikita in this house is because it's easy to follow Stalin. Okay, like imagine, like, dude, these people really think, what is the fuck? Not like the Operation Gladios, right? They still live in that era, right, where the fucking Red Scare exists and communism is illegal. Like, you're so victimized, bro.
However, the inevitable liberal counterargument to this is that multi-party liberal democracies lead to a system of power sharing, unlike one-party states.
No, listen,
they do have a
okay,
point.
hang on.
But is this
I wasn't
really
saying
true
he wouldn't lose without Ukraine. It's that the backing that he had was pushing him in that direction, just like how Netanyahu's backing is pushing him into Gaza. If Netanyahu didn't go into Gaza, he wouldn't fall from power. He would still have been there, you know? And he's definitely more in a democratic position than Putin. Putin isn't going anywhere regardless of what he's doing in Ukraine. He could kill his entire population in Ukraine. It wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
For the United States, the value of power sharing is supposed to be one of the things that differentiates genuine liberal democracies from so-called phantom democracies that are dominated mostly by one party. The American two-party duopoly does share power between different factions of the dominant property-owning
There's
class,
a civil
but
war
hardly
going
share
on
power
in
with
the
ordinary
Republican
citizens.
Party right now. They're ripping each other apart.
Yeah. It's great.
That's how
Political
ideologically
power is-
different. Actually, they're not even. It's not even like ideological different. It's like it's literally more communist. You know?
Yeah.
Like it's like I back Trotsky.
Yeah.
For the majority of citizens, it would be the capacity of a social class to realize its specific objective interests. This is the definition of political power used by Marxist theorists such as Nikos Poulantzas and non-Marxist scholars
We
such
have
as the
voting
sociologist
blocks,
William
bro.
Domhoff, whose study of distributive power essentially
It's
doesn't
defines political
understand.
power as,
the entire class doesn't even need to come together. You just need one. You just need to formulate a block.
Yeah.
You can literally. Are you Catholic? Go to your church. Form a block there. Are you a gun owner? Let me tell you about some blocks. Come on.
The ability of a group, class, or nation
No!
to be successful in political conflicts with
Oh,
other
God.
groups, classes,
Not
or
him.
nations
No!
is of concern to
No.
it.
In his book, Who Rules America, Domhoff developed 3 indicators of distributive political
Okay.
power.
What do we think
1,
about this guy,
who
William
governs,
Domhoff?
2, who benefits, and 3,
Never heard of him.
who wins in policy disputes. The empirical research
Getting the
outlined in this
fucking
book
neck
found that
sore where my fucking neck vein is gonna burst.
the American corporate rich, which make up only 0.5% of the population, score higher on all 3 power indicators than their counterparts do in every other major industrialized democracy. The American corporate rich are overrepresented in the seats of government power, are statistically the most likely to have their wills carried through in decisions over alternative.
No, but you don't understand. We just always have a way of democratically coming to the conclusions that just simply end up benefiting the super wealthy and
Oh, is that right?
corporations every single time over the interests of the citizens, even though, and we actually democratically voted for it. You fool, you idiot, you simpleton, you simply do not understand. We voted hard. We must vote even harder. And in that process of our voting hard, no matter what happens, things that we want, we cannot get. Things that corporations want, both parties seem to deliver no matter
Oh my
what.
God, crazy.
Wow.
But that's
You know what would solve this problem? Removing money from politics.
just the way it is. That's just the imperfect nature of the democratic process. Also, I will be rich one day. So it's kind of cool to fantasize about what kind of amenities I'll have when I'm rich one day.
Huh? Okay, capitalist. How much did you spend on that car again? Was it $400,000?
He literally, did you not see it? He came out and he said it. He came mask off. He didn't show. I show you the tweet where he's like, "I'm a capitalist. I love capitalism." He said it, bro.
Proposals and enjoy a greater share of wealth than their counterparts do in all other industrialized liberal democracies.
Oh no!
Now, that is not to say that getting rid of corporate finance will fix the root problem when it comes to the capitalist state ruling in favor of the corporate rich. I highly recommend checking out my article on Cosmonaut titled "Why the Ruling Class Need Not Rule."
You know what you should do instead? Go to 5thgen.substack.com and read our shit instead.
Subscribe to our Patreon for $1.
Just
$1. $1. YouTube demonetized us because we did neutral reporting on the Houthis.
Yeah,
Hasan doesn't get demonetized even though he has a month. Even though that guy's not a Houthi. But
literally promoting the Houthis is a good thing and we were neutrally reporting.
Like,
it's very cool.
Crazy. Would you believe it? Boeing has like a lot of influence because they build commercial and like military airplanes.
Military, crazy, right?
Like,
it's almost like if you actually think about it, it makes sense.
And we're comparing this to like, and like, what does this have to do with fucking like China? Like, are you saying China has more differences? Like the elite have that much, like, how much power do you think the elites actually have here? Right?
Yeah.
Because like, they've shown this, right? So like, there is a point where if corporate backing is backing something, there's just no way it's going to happen. Oh, wow. Right? That's not very democratic. Good thing there's like 100 other examples of democracy here. But like, it's shown that like, it's like a 20% factor. Like, if you have citizens backing something, there's a 20% chance that it's going to pass. Like a very popular support, right? So for example, here's an example of something that is on the other side of that 20%. Common sense gun control at a federal level, right? Majority of the nation supports it. Why doesn't it pass? Because it's not going to. There's corporate interest of those firearm companies preventing it, right? But on local levels, this shit passes all the time. Each state manages their gun laws, and it often helps the industry. Sometimes bans help these industries.
Yeah. Which is why it should be at a local level, and there should be no federal gun laws.
You want to talk about a state that doesn't have a democracy? It's Texas. Oh my god.
Last, American politics are significantly more corporatized than they are in practically any other well-respected liberal democracy. Furthermore, party competition only entails a more democratic society.
Yes, it's America. Like, oh my god, would you believe it? Capitalism strong in America.
Crazy, right?
Boeing strong in America. Okay.
In this video, literally, as we were talking about this specific thing yesterday,
corporate, like, there's specific industries that will like control entire countries, you know? Like Italy, like the automotive industry in Italy, like they have so much power.
There's also another concept that Zizek and many others have talked about.
Oh, good.
With the difference between the neoliberal structure of rule and governance, or like the liberal democracy and its version of
I have
ruling a nation versus
the first
an
30 minutes, but like I can't. It's like too big to host on Patreon, and I'm not about to upload the first 30 minutes to YouTube and like get a second strike. So I'm gonna put it
private. If it's private, it won't matter.
Well, it just needs to be hosted through Patreon, right? Because that's where I was
so if you put it on private,
I literally have the file for the whole restored stream. I like merged the two parts together for that Houthi stream, but it's only the first 30 minutes that get cut from it. The whole second hour is there on YouTube.
Rule, and the authoritarian rule. The authoritarian rule is interesting because people understand that they are subjects in that circumstance, and therefore they have a much higher likelihood of rising up if there is a situation that they are unhappy with.
This whole like rising up shit, bro. Do you know how easy it is to just organize? Just go outside and organize a voting block, dude. Like no other country can do voting blocks like America. That's the whole reason why superdelegates can exist to begin with, because it's just blocks upon blocks merged together through corporate interests.
So the government has to be more responsive in this circumstance if the feeling of a democratic option is not there.
Government policy, hold state officials accountable, and have alternative parties with different policies that they can vote for when the ruling party goes against their will. this is hardly the reality in the United States. Unless you consider the Republicans blocking any meager social reform as holding the Democrats accountable,
Bro,
which the Democrats
John
spinelessly
McCain
accept.
passed the Affordable Care Act. We have a Republican to thank for that, right? Like Obama may have created the policy, but without John McCain being John McCain and a fucking maverick, it wouldn't have happened. Here we
The
go. Oh,
reality
look,
is
it's
that
the
for the most part, the
neoliberal.
two parties do not hold each other
figureheads.
accountable for actions that concern the majority of citizens.
Because it's
Certainly
definitely
not foreign policy.
we think neoliberalism is going to continue after Biden, this like Clintonized democracy. You really think it's going to continue after that old fuck dies? Have you seen Kamala Harris? That's like the follow-up of the we've shown that we're not voting for the next generation of neoliberalism. It's not happening.
Yeah, they're dead. Neocons, neolibs, they're dead.
Practically every U.S. president is effectively a war criminal. Check out Hakeem's video on that.
Don't
Definitely not the
check
national
out that
security
video. It's
apparatus
awful.
for fulfillment of civil liberties, and not for most economic policies. Where there is practically
There's
a
another
consensus.
one. I don't even know who
Despite
this
all
guy
the
is. They
Democrats'
have
woke
another one
virtue
of them that we just found. Thanks, Hasan.
Yeah, thanks.
One dime.
They are just barely different from the Republicans when it comes to immigration policy, with Barack Obama
No
having
shit,
the highest
bro.
record
Come
for
on.
deportations,
Like,
and Joe Biden continuing Trump's border wall. The great political theorist Sheldon Wolin
He's mad about that.
this totally contradicts everything he just said, though, right? Because when like the fucking businesses fucking hate Greg Abbott because of this shit, right? Like, there's so many like town hall meetings where like they have like representatives for businesses so fucking pissed because of these fucking migrant crackdowns because they need that exploitable labor. So like, are we not controlled by capitalism? Because in this case with Abbott, it's like fascism is overpowering capitalism there. What one is better? Oh, they're the same to you. Okay.
sums up the contained opposition role of the Democratic Party as follows.
Biden has built
Oh, the
Biden has
timidity of a
built more
Democratic
wall than Trump. Like they have Biden has to. They have a fucking issue point on the border so that they have to fucking cater to these policies. Like Biden has to do it. If he doesn't do it, right? What a entire constituency of the democracy is like pushing for, wanting him to do, because they like use this as a wedge issue for racism. If he doesn't fucking appease them, people all over the world die because the Republicans will hold shit up. America, it's not just like the logistics of trade and medicine that we have to maintain to keep the world alive. Like, so many lives depend on America functioning every day, and people just don't fucking get it. Like, no shit, you're not going to fucking upset the capitalist fucking system here. But you can do it in Minnesota. Like, you can have, like, your own little pocket state. Like, this is Leninism, because Leninism was this whole idea that they needed to expand the Soviet Union because it had to be, like, a global movement. Fuck you! No, it didn't! Like, socialism is best organized block to block.
Party, mesmerized by centrist precepts, points to the crucial fact that for the poor, minorities, working class, anti-corporatists, pro-environmentalists, and anti-imperialists, there is no opposition party working actively on their behalf. And this is despite the fact that these elements are recognized as the
all
loyal
the
base
people
of the party,
who they're
by ignoring
they're
dissent,
not working like so. Yeah, well, one party at the figurehead of the party. Like, it's based off of the Iroquois democracy, right? So, like, the way it works, guys, is like you have those things that you listed, the anti-imperialism and stuff, like all those like little minorities that Sheldon Wallen wanted to write about. Those are where we organize in like blocks. So it's based off of the Iroquois democracy, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, right? So you have the smallest factions, right? So the smallest factions have a consensus, right? Then the next largest two have a consensus, and only then does it go up to the largest central tribe, the Onondaga, right? So after it's passed consensus through all these different houses, long houses, right? Then it gets to the top. So by design, you actually do have a ton of, like, we want to pretend that PSL doesn't have a ton of fucking influence on like this type of shit. Like, they are literally at every fucking political event right now. Like, antiwar.com, all these people, we think they don't have a voice in this country. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you like these people are like professors too? Like professor of what?
Assuming that the dissenters have no alternative, the party serves as an important, if ironical, stabilizing function and, in effect, marginalizes any possible threat to the corporate allies of the Republicans.
Thus, the U.S. can hardly be said to have party competition, one of the most lauded features of liberal democracy. Third parties exist, but it's damn near impossible for them to get elected to the House,
it wasn't
Senate,
designed
and
for
especially
third
the
parties.
president.
It's not
This
fucking
is due to a
Israel, bro.
variety of factors, like the winner-take-all system of the U.S. Electoral College, the
Which
inability
could
of
be
new parties
eliminated
to
tomorrow.
compete with the massive financial
Bad
resources
example.
of the two
You're
established
saying that
parties,
it's
and the
never
lack
had
of
this.
media coverage.
People are pushing strongly to eliminate that. So the bad example.
Many popular demands don't even make it to the presidency due to the way that the U.S. electoral system is designed, which makes it practically impossible for third parties to challenge the two-party duopoly. It's nearly impossible for third parties to gain traction in the first place because they are never platformed by the unaccountable corporate oligopolies who own all of the mainstream media.
Okay, here we go. Yep. Maureen Williamson is being silenced. Yep, that's why it's not happening.
Not to mention all of the undemocratic institutional obstacles that come with the Senate and Supreme Court. As a result, the U.S. government can get away with ignoring the demands of its citizens a lot more easily than other representative democracies. For example, a widely publicized study published in Cambridge University.
It's almost like it's fucking gigantic. So at the federal level, yes. And then in these small states where we have white racist Republicans, they're the ones most victimized by the system at the end of the day, right? And unfortunately, also in these states is where a majority of the black population is in the South and shit, right? So these fucking states are very controlled by corporate powers. Absolutely, right? This is a serious problem.
A minuscule, near zero, statistically non-significant impact upon public policy. Yet the periodic rotation between the two parties and the
I've literally fucking passed drug policy in my county. Like I've worked on so many things. Like, do you know how important drug recycling is? And you fucking get the environmentalists and shit by telling them that flushing Oxycontin is going to fuck up the fish and get you addicted to opium and shit. And then you're going to be on the rainbow fentanyl. It's so easy.
Republican partisans and their partisan-affiliated media make the fantasy of democratic politics more believable compared to managed democracies where only one party dominates.
Okay, managed democracies. Okay, buddy.
To such an extent that it achieves the stability longed for by dictatorships while enjoying the legal legitimacy of a liberal democratic state.
Well, this is I do 100% agree with this. This also goes back
to
because
you're an idiot.
Something I've been an advocate for.
Whoa. Are we now saying that like China longs for the stability of America? Do we think China is actually that unstable? Like, look at what they can put their state through, and like it doesn't, like the needle does not move, you know? It stays right up there. Come on. America could literally break down.
Is that like
it has it's put itself back together
multiple times.
Literally,
it's an infinitely more effective way to govern.
What?
2008.
Yeah.
Economic recession.
Than having an authoritarian government, because the idea that the simple notion that you have a choice in the matter and your will is being reflected creates this incredible.
Dude, look at fucking Assad. Imagine if Syria was as democratic as the U.S., right? like Assad is ruling like one street, you know? Like that's all he has at this point. The rest of the country's in fucking rubble, and he's right up there, you know? It's that, you know, staying strong. And then they like cite Gaddafi as that being like an example. Like, shut up. Gaddafi dumped the arms into his own people.
Like all of a sudden you're just like, yeah, well, you know, I wanted this to happen. It didn't happen, but I still voted for it. And at least I'm in a situation where I can actually like, I can. And
did you get a little?
I can actually make a decision here. Like I have some power, right?
Okay. First of all, now remember how I said they just made that John Brown thing? They do it's the guy who does the Confederate versus Union debate things where he plays both characters. Have you seen those?
No.
Like they're sitting across the table from each other. He's like specializes in the Civil War and debunking like Civil War myths, which is a big thing on YouTube among history tubers, right? So he's having this discussion with about John Brown. And I think our friend Anarch also made a video that looks like it's anti-voting. We might look at that and like do a critique of that as well. But this idea that like voting, it's like, oh, I do like the amplifying the impact of your vote.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up. Like like they say it in this, the conclusion of this John Brown thing is that both Frederick Douglass and John Brown are right. You need both. You need the revolutionaries.
Yeah.
Every expansion of human rights that has come through violence. It's just a fact. And so when you want that type of action, there's only one way to get those types of things pushed. Democracy is much, much different. It's not, it's like literally one is high risk, high reward. The other one is like low stakes, low reward. It's so easy to vote. It takes like at most 30 minutes for most of the country out of your day because you have to drive there, and then it's like 5 minutes to fucking fill out the sheet, right? It's so easy. And the impact that it has, like your day-to-day life probably won't change, but it also didn't really change when you went out to vote either. Like it's something to marginalize and hedge your bets on things. Like it's the consensus. It's not. It's like not to give rights to the oppressed. The oppressed must take their own. And you're not oppressed just because you're not rich.
Yeah.
Theory or sociologists like Max Weber would know that the concept of legitimacy is a crucial component to any socio-political order.
Yeah,
Before
no
the Enlightenment
shit.
and liberalism,
No shit. Oh
legitimacy
my
and
god.
feudalism was based on the
Maybe
divine.
that's why it actually is serious. Then Donald Trump is in there and like delegitimizing the process. Maybe that has done damage. Maybe it is
Right,
just
it
because it's all an illusion. Money only exists because we pretend. We say that it's legitimate, so it is. Wow, crazy.
Modern constitutional democracies are typically legitimized by popular sovereignty, aka the will of the people, the consent of the governed.
They're legitimized through the fucking Constitution. That's why they're a constitutional democracy.
People themselves. On the other hand,
Yeah.
the legitimacy of
This is
absolute
fucking
dictatorship
Leviathan level
totalitarian
shit, bro.
states often depends on the regime's ability to economically perform or fulfill the stated
1200.
role of the ruling party. Like, for
This
example,
shit
in the
was come
Soviet
up
Union,
with.
the legitimacy of the party state was based on the Communist Party's ability to perform its stated function as a representative of the proletariat and progress towards the transition.
Why do you still vote if you know that it doesn't really matter at the end? Well, because there are aspects of voting that do matter, especially down ballot voting, and power. Down ballot vote, like the irony is, my advocacy on this is no different than like I guess the understanding that it's kind of like the
written
Chinese
in
government,
1500. I was at
one party structure, but
right?
you're
The Magna Carta.
No, Leviathan.
Oh.
local municipal officials.
So the work concerns structures of society, legitimate government, and is regarded as one of the earliest and most influential examples of social contract theory. Now, one of my favorite videos is this like angry black woman at the George Floyd riots saying you broke the social contract. You know what video I'm talking about? Where she's like, you broke the contract. So who the fuck cares about your Target and your Football Hall of Fame, right? This is what it's all about, right? The Leviathan. Yeah. So I'll pull up that video because it's a great video. So like, you know, moral and political philosophy is an idea, right? Concerns legitimacy of authority of the state over the individual, conceptualized in the Age of Enlightenment was a core concept of constitutionalism, right? And then it's like not necessary to be written down.
Yeah.
In a constituent assembly and constitution, right? That it says literally not necessary for either the constitution or the fucking whatever word he used that means the constituent assembly. Read a fucking book.
Important. Except in that process, like our local municipalities are also, I would say, less democratic than at least like the Chinese version of it, because there is some, there is some kind of, I guess, unless they're like super corrupt somehow, there is some kind of like efficiency and performance marker that you can point to. So I do believe that you should vote specifically for, you know, down ballot races and ballot measures. And then beyond that, there's obviously the argument that even though both parties are basically aligned on the issues that matter, that pertain to the material reality, one party does definitely push further and further right the country. The other one also normalizes that right-wing swing while simultaneously claiming that they're going to actually, you know, bring the country back to a left-wing path, I guess. This is somewhat reductive. And they don't do that, so they do end up playing the role of normalization. Those marginal differences between either party do yield massive consequences for those on the ground, for like the real civilians, the citizens. So when there is no revolutionary vanguard that will bring about some kind of socialist dictatorship of the proletariat in the United States of America, you just have to keep making sure.
Hi, do you know what a vanguard is? A vanguard is hierarchy. Fuck you.
Or that the inevitable death spiral towards fascism is slowed down as best as possible. That's why I say vote.
Who almost always inevitably takes over when the revolution's done? Oh, is that the vanguard? Oh, I wonder why. I wonder why they do it. Is it almost like being propped up to a hierarchical position makes you feel like you're entitled to the position? How interesting. Maybe avoid that.
Okay.
Might help.
So this video is longer, but it's BLM. How can we win? Kimberly Jones, powerful speech, full length, Black Lives Matter. All right. So I'm very much towards the end where she like is finalizing her thoughts in the speech, right? So she says a lot before this. It's worth watching the whole thing. But this is like what political awareness looks like, not Hasan.
If you didn't like what I did, you got to burn it like they did in Tulsa and like they did in Rosewood. How can you win? How can you win? You can't win. The game is fixed. So when they say, why do you burn down the community? Why do you burn down your own neighborhood? It's not ours. We don't own anything. We don't own anything. Trevor Noah said it so beautifully last night. There's a social contract that we all have, that if you steal or if I steal, then the person who is the authority comes in and they fix the situation. But the person who fixes the situation is killing us. So the social contract is broken. And if the social contract is broken, why the f do I give a shit about burning the Football Hall of Fame, about burning the Target? You broke the contract when you killed us in the streets and didn't give up. You broke the contract when for 400 years we played your game and built your wealth. You broke the contract when we built our wealth again on our own, by our bootstraps in Tulsa, and you dropped bombs on us. When we built it in Rosewood and you came in and you slaughtered us. You broke the contract, so your Target, your Hall of Fame. As far as I'm concerned, they could burn this bitch to the ground. And it still wouldn't be enough. And they are lucky that what Black people are looking for is equality and not revenge.
That is something to end on.
I mean, it's much better without the like censorship. I try,
yeah.
But find Kimberly Jones' powerful speech where she actually says the F words.
Voting is the least significant, most important thing you can do. You know,
voting didn't fix
at
that.
Least for whichever party you're voting for the presidency.
And it never will.
And also,
Beyond
there is like
Beyond
they're
that.
not in the Constitution.
Standing army.
No, I mean Black people. The Constitution was not written for them. The social contract, the Constitution was not written for them. That's one of the core issues here.
Yeah.
That you know, lower voting for lower offices is important.
Into communism, and how the socialist transition got defined eventually just got implicitly watered down into improving living standards.
Eyebrows.
When the USSR
guy who created the Afghan War,
and living standards stopped improving, less and less people believed in the official ideology of Marxism-Leninism, and consequently, the legitimacy of the Soviet Union, like many other Soviet regimes, fell apart rather quickly. The more generic right-wing dictatorships, on the other hand, have a much more vague sense of legitimacy. Their legitimacy is only based on the goal of restoring order, and is heavily tied to the dictator. And because the legitimacy of the state's authority is tied to the ruling dictatorship and not the people, such regimes are very prone to overthrow, and it's a lot easier to justify revolution. Unlike in liberal democracies, in which authority is already, at least formally speaking, legitimized by the people themselves. But today, many regimes that are effectively one-party dictatorships, such as Putin's United Russia Party and Singapore's People's Action Party, have adopted much more clever tactics when it comes to legitimacy. These more sophisticated dictatorial regimes, which theorists such as John Keane have labeled the new despotisms, actually legitimize themselves through popular sovereignty. by having formal democratic systems with multi-party elections, at least on paper. But these elections are highly managed, though not directly rigged, in such a way that there is virtually no opposition to pose a threat to the ruling party. Yet, because the facade of the democratic process is not that believable due to being dominated only by one party and a hegemon.
I like that you said, I love China, but surprisingly, he's not mentioning it. He is mentioning it. I think that's what the entire video is to show. In my opinion, the entire video is to show that like the Chinese system or the Russian system is not all that different in comparison to the managed democracies that you see, or I guess the phantom democracy that you see in the Western world, or also our allies. Right?
Just picks up words and then repeats it.
Hegemonic leader, their legitimacy is often paper thin. While they allow for more dissent compared to classic totalitarian regimes, these so-called phantom democracies tend to be fairly illiberal.
Like Turkey's a good example of this. There's a coalition. It used to be a parliamentary structure. Now it's a presidential structure, but there's still a parliament. There's parties. Turkey's a multi-party system, right? You have two factions. You build two coalitions. You have the opposition coalition and you have the ruling coalition. Except it's Erdogan. It's Erdogan fucking in the leadership position for the past multiple decades now. Right? No matter what happens, it's still him.
Almost
now, the elections are...
And then we'd see.
Unfair, but free. I guess that's the designation. They're not fair and free elections in the sense that...
I would say that's a perfect example. Fair, they're unfair, but they are free. That is, I would say that's a very accurate description of Turkey's situation. Not America's.
And many countries do similar things. Okay? Many countries do similar things. But our understanding of whether or not they are democracies, like actual democracies or not, are completely reliant on our opinion of the country. Are they a foreign adversary? Are they an ally that sometimes fucks up, like Turkey?
No.
Or are
sometimes.
Are they just like a permanent foreign adversary?
Who's our opinion? Like, does the United? Do we think the United States decides who's a democracy and who isn't?
I guess so. Why not?
Like the way the UN functions and the way states represent themselves, right? They kind of organize themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
Similar minds kind of blend together. Even blocks exist there.
I mean, look, the entire Soviet bloc, right? The USSR was a bloc.
Adversary, like China. Only then do we apply rigorous standards of like what the democratic process looks like.
China, known adversary of the U.S., 50% trade partner, China. Yeah, known adversary. It's because China bad. That's why they're not considered a democracy by America. You got it, bro.
This does not mean, okay? This does not mean that I'm stating that like the Chinese system is better. Okay, I'm not saying that at all.
I'm just stating that
I like the concept of democracy. I like the principles of democracy. After all, I want America to be more democratic. Maybe I'm an idealist, but I do believe in that.
Okay, Hasan,
on the other hand,
how do we rule on Mongolia? But is Mongolia an ally or an enemy?
Oh, you mean how China still owns and occupies and...
That's Inner Mongolia. Mongolia, the country, though.
I know. And the majority of the Mongolian population lives in China.
But the country, though, is that an adversary or not?
Why would it be?
I don't know. It's one of the most democratic countries in the world, so just.
Well, yeah. That's why I'm saying why would it be? If anything, it's a China.
Mongolia, literally, actually, on the Freedom House Index, Mongolia actually has a higher score than America.
No shit.
Being beholden to popular will. The rotation of the
South Africa is not that far behind America.
Power fosters a more convincing illusion of democracy, akin to a game of football in which the people can only watch.
Argentina is higher than America.
Any alternative
than America. Thanks, Trump. Thanks, Donald Trump. You're the best. Costa Rica's obviously
opposition
higher.
party.
Yeah.
Belize.
Read Bordiga, Stalin, the other chatter.
Bahamas way higher.
Marxist terms voting.
I don't give a shit about your chat. Hurry the fuck up.
You got it, man.
Hurry up, cunt. Press play.
Represent the working class majority are effectively blocking.
Wait, what? Saudi Arabia has a lower
happens when you read
democratic rating here than Iran. How does that make sense, Hasan? Iran's the bad guy. What?
Too much theory.
Yemen is higher than Saudi Arabia.
And your brain is melted.
Crazy. Brain is melted like you.
And you've moved beyond. You've moved past the boundaries of normalcy. or how anything is supposed to be governed. Tell Chatter that you left
Hasan will
Chatter's
tell us about
mom. Oh my
normalcy.
god, that was so good. Jesus Christ.
Expert.
And as we saw with the separation of powers video, even if a populist working class candidate were elected, America's unique system of checks and balances are designed specifically to prevent any kind of popular rule against the propertied minority. America is unique because on paper it is the most liberal of the
to act
recognized
like
liberal
that's
democracies,
actually a
while being-
thing. Populism. Trump has shown that populism is extremely destructive to the democracy.
Yes.
Are you kidding me? If your ideas were popular, someone could make it. The thing is that they're not. And you can blame that on the Cold War and Stalin being villainized all you want. Go for it. I don't give a fuck. Minnesota exists.
among the least democratic in practice. At least on paper, people in America have more formal liberties to criticize the government than people do in any other country. But this freedom to criticize only fosters a democratic illusion as the people are rendered powerless, as they are given no real institutional means of seriously challenging the shared monopoly of the established parties and their policies. And unlike a one-party state, a political system with internal binary oppositions better synchronizes with human inclinations towards dualistic thinking and in-group out-group dynamics. The illusion of democracy becomes more real than real through the hyper-real carnivalization of politics. The media circus maximus of partisan disputes. The simulation of political
Is this about how
masking the
so many people don't want Joe Biden to run, even though like a majority of the constituency is behind him? Almost like it doesn't matter how loudly you yell that you don't want him to run, because there's more people in the constituency that are behind him. That's why he's there.
Crazy how that works. Democracy.
Absence of any real politics. Let me explain what is meant by the word simulation.
Oh God.
I'm referring to Jean Baudrillard's theory of simulation and hyperreality, which is not quite the same thing as what is depicted in The Matrix, contrary to what this title might suggest. Jonas Cheka, the YouTube channel CCK Philosophy, has a great video showing why the Matrix movie gets Baudrillard's ideas completely wrong, even though it is a good series. Explaining Baudrillard's ideas in such a short video would be a Herculean task, but I'll briefly give a short account of the idea of simulation and how it applies to this video. The simulation of U.S. democracy.
Here we go.
The word simulation denotes how the phenomenon of contained opposition takes on a distinctly new form in modern, or shall I say, postmodern times. It's inspired by Jean Baudrillard's theory of simulation and hyperreality, which is extremely difficult to explain, and I highly recommend my podcast on it.
I won't.
But one of the key ideas is that imagery and mediatized representations of reality have reached such a level of technical perfection that they have become hyperreal. That is, more real than reality itself.
How does that?
The degree of perfection
It's
that
called
reality
being
can
on
be
Twitter.
codified for us through simulation has
It's what?
It's called being on Twitter. Just touch grass, bro.
disenchanting effect. As in,
This is the thing.
This is my least favorite type of top of the hour ad break.
When you're stuck here, when you're stuck in the Twitter brain, right?
You're
not organizing with your local voter blocks and actually maintaining. Like I said, Michigan is organizing as a block and wielding a lot of power. Go outside.
Okay, it's cheap. It's cheap. You come in here, you say, "Why do you love Putin?" And as soon as I'm don't.
Nobody cares about your fucking chat fight. Shut up.
Or by getting gifted a sub. Here's the ad break now.
Shut up.
Increasingly leads to the extermination of illusion and human imagination. Forces that are capable of allowing for the reversibility of meaning and radically altering the existing symbolic structures.
I think if I was to have a discussion with him,
What did he
on
even
the
just say?
stream, honest, I'm not sure. If I was to have
Is that
a
a Rancor in the clouds there?
Like if I it kind of looks like it. If I was to have a discussion with Hasan and he was continually looking at the chat, I would just start like doing this. I would move the microphone like this and I would start going like, pay attention, you fuck.
This can be a bit difficult to grasp, but just think
8-bit register, thank you for the 10 gifted, and Blarthol, thank you for the 5 gifted.
Think about it on a practical level. Despite the real lack of new and substantially different alternatives on the political scene, many are convinced that polarization is at its highest, and that America in particular is more politically divided than ever. How do people come to believe this despite the absence of any real politics? One of the reasons why is that the increasingly hyper-real mediatization of the political spectacle makes people much more invested in it on a libidinal level, all while lobotomizing our ability to actually imagine new radical alternatives to the existing state of affairs. The simulation of the news cycle and the implosion of meaning in the media creates the facade of politics all the time, when in reality, politics is rare and sequential,
And he's gone.
and events are scarce and ephemeral. By their very nature, events represent a rupture in the established logics of the existing world.
Like, we
Considerably
can
low
get
voter
up
turnout in the United States suggests that many
because
Americans are not
there's
quite
two
as
of us.
enchanted by the folklore of U.S. democracy as much as the
Someone is always here. there's nobody else.
Yeah, because he
And he
doesn't want
gets
to pay
up.
anyone.
What an idiot. This annoys me more than anything else that he does.
Right?
The fact that he gets
He
up
gets
and
it from
walks
Anna.
away. Fucking hell.
The preachers of its gospel are. Notwithstanding the ardent fan bases of Team Republican and Team Democrat, the biggest believers in U.S. democracy appear to be none other than the nation's most educated minds, such as academics, media professionals, middle-class managers, who are part of the broader category that some describe as the professional managerial
I thought
class.
of a joke to make
The
fun of Hasan,
2016
and then I
election of Donald
realized
Trump, and even
I'm
more
going to
so,
have to pull up GIFs to illustrate this joke, because if I put a moment of Disney animated footage on here, we are fucked.
the infamous January 6th incident, aroused media panics about the supposed loss of American democracy and the need to protect America's democratic institutions and combat populism. Trump did not fundamentally change America's institutional structures when he was in power. He just packed the Supreme Court with more Republicans, as other Republican presidents have done before. So what they really mean when they say that Trump represents a threat to American democracy.
This is Hasan touching grass for the first time.
It's perfect.
Like this is like, he doesn't walk very good, does he? Like he doesn't. It's just like why learn like Bambi learning to walk is what I imagine Hasan like walking away from Chad is learning about the world for the first time, what flowers are and shit.
Represents a threat to the legitimacy of American democracy, and that he undermines American hegemony by tarnishing the country's image, not the reality behind the image. But is Trump really a crack in the matrix? Does he really undermine the simulation of U.S. democracy? I think not. Quite the contrary. If anything,
what a surprise! A tanky is also a fascist. Wow.
Like, yes, he does.
Wow, this is totally a surprising take to come from someone who is clearly, definitely not a fascist.
It's like these people are connected with the they want like people. If you think like, why would Iran want Trump? They hate Trump. They want to kill him because he killed Qasem Soleimani. These people aren't fucking stupid. They know what Trump... Like, there's a reason why Russiagate existed, which is a proven thing, all right? Just because fucking Rachel Maddow doesn't understand what information warfare is and thinks, like, they're hacking our election polls or something.
It's fucking dumb.
Invigorate the facade of U.S. democracy and gave a whole new meaning to the Democratic Party's hollow existence. As was the case with Richard Nixon after the Watergate scandal, the depiction of Donald Trump as an authoritarian exception to the noble rules of liberal democracy, far from saving democracy, restores faith in the noble lies that legitimize the very institutions that obstruct.
I do also simultaneously think that it has the exact opposite effect too, right? On the one hand, the Democratic Party gets a second wind. It's restoring democracy. On the other hand, it contributes further to the polarization while simultaneously gets a lot more people to check out entirely from politics because they recognize that under the Trump administration, there was a lot more political movement. There was a lot more outside of the system action.
I think the real danger of the American education and how our system is designed and how we teach people about like the revolution and stuff like that is it processes this illusion that like government can just like radically change like at the drop of a hat. Like, like it's not changing through eras, you know?
Yeah.
And that goes for like most like leaders stay around in most countries, you know? Like we might change leaders between like Republican and Democrat, right? And it might maintain this back and forth Hegelian dialectic. Like that might happen. But are we really going to say that America is not more progressive than it was in 1850? Like,
yeah, it's a stupid statement to make. Like, it's more progressive than it was in 2000, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, America is, by fundamental definition, the most progressive country ever to exist.
Bro, I remember, like, when, like, women kissed at a baseball game and that was like the biggest controversy, right?
Yeah.
Like I remember when it was like still like not cool to be gay, right? And now we're like leading like a transgender movement. Like and like the whole like left-handed argument where it's like these things where we're actually deconstructing humanity here, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's fucking cyberpunk next level shit, the way we're deconstructing what makes humans and the design spectrums around. Like to think that like things aren't going to fundamentally change.
Of
with,
course
like,
they are.
this
That's why
next
people are
complete
fighting it so
gender
hard.
revolution.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be fucking. It's not socialism, right? You got to get behind the gays because
yeah.
Because you know what? You know what? Guess what? You know how they say socialism hasn't been tried.
Mm.
You know what else hasn't been done? A complete like the massive wave of gay revolution that America is pushing out amongst the world.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what socialism has done to the world. Like just the influence of the USSR alone. That was just the influence of socialism. How much is gay and trans culture going to influence the world? How much is shit going to change? You think we persecuted socialists? Just wait till we start sticking up for the gays, right? And it's like, hey, you're an anti-gay. You know, it's going to be a whole new Cold War.
Yeah.
And the they-them army is taking us to the future, bro.
BLM rallies, and then they realized that all of that was for nothing. Because the Democrats come in saying, "Oh no, we hear you. We're going to do everything you want us. You want us to do."
The cycle of
and then
authority.
what happens under the Democratic Party's reign? There is
an
insane amount of
bro. Did you know there was protests
reactionary propaganda?
Were there?
Yeah, like when they were protesting against Lukashenko, right?
Oh, I was gonna say,
like not now, not like.
I was gonna say, like, am I that out of the loop?
No, like the old ones.
That completely beefs up the narratives that there is like crime running rampant around the country, and that this is somehow a consequence of defunding the police and all of this stuff. All these false narratives that the Democratic Party also then leans on heavily and says, "Oh, we can't do anything. All of our grassroots activism on the ground, like you guys suck. The cops are our heroes." They do have one of the higher approval ratings in this country, by the way, institutionally speaking. Cops have what is it, plus 48? It's crazy. So,
you know what will change
overall,
that?
Well, I think, like I always say, the Democratic Party plays its role in normalizing a lot of the reactionary positions that the Republicans present. That's the role that they play.
Exactly. They don't even get it.
In other words, Trump's election.
Like this is where I really, because like I'm not like pro anything really, but like this is where I really identify with PKK rhetoric, right? If they're gonna flag me for using terrorism promotion now, but like their fundamental doctrine is that the first oppression is man over woman. Like the first enslavement was the woman to the man.
Yeah.
Right. So like the complete breakdown of these gender roles in society and just like people just living and identifying and dressing and acting the way they want to. Like for example, like this like the sexual dimorphism, right? So like with chinchillas, right, that I have here, I have two males, right? The females are a little bigger, but guess what? They do the same mounting for dominance that the males do. They're exactly the same in behavior, right? There's like literally like no difference in how they behave. Like sometimes like males are considered to be more aggressive, right? And you'll see that type of thing, right? But like males can be submissive to the females in chinchillas. The females are frequently dominant in like if you have two chinchillas and one's like a female, the females are more likely to be dominant over the males. Depends. It's completely based on the chinchilla's personality, and that's one little rodent, one little tiny brain rodent. And we're going to act like, the species that can literally leave this planet, they're so like intelligent and technologically advanced, is going to be like restricted to these like simple naturalistic values. Like what's more unnatural, like you think flying was unnatural, okay, space is like not designed for life and we did it.
We were able to stay up there. People stay up there for months, years, even like
and also even under the ocean too, that was crazy. Let's see you do it, gorilla. You can't even stand in the rain.
Yeah, you can't even fucking stand the rain. What are you gonna do? You fucking ape.
woke some people up from the American dream of democracy only to give them sleep paralysis. The simulated facade of U.S. democracy has to be maintained at all costs to absorb radical discontent back into everyday politics.
What was that awful AI? Did you
I know,
see
right?
that?
I thought they were just actors.
Awful.
Like impersonators. Like you buy the stock footage and they're impersonators.
Really bad.
Of U.S. democracy has to be maintained at all costs to absorb radical discontent back into everyday politics, and to ensure that people still recognize the state's institutions. Believing in this myth of democracy,
it's also the willingness to believe.
more
Like these
importantly, act
Republican
as though it-
artificial, you know, Joe Rogan has been told how many times that kids do not poop in litter boxes,
and he still believes it,
and he's still talking about it.
Mhm.
How you can't teach a cat math. These people know it's a lie.
is one of
You
the
think
few
they don't
civic
know?
virtues still expected of the domesticated American citizen.
I think there are some people that don't. That genuinely believe it.
This whole idea
of the system's
they're
democratic-
selling people on like your vote really matters, you know, and people actually think like I'm making a difference when I put this ballot in. People
Oh,
are
there's
like,
some libs that definitely do.
look, they instill it where it's like they instill a civic duty, right? That's what the voting propaganda is. It's like the best thing you can do as an American citizen who loves your country is vote. Like that's what they like. It's a civic duty. Right, so you're supposed to feel good, like I voted, I participated in the system. You know, that it's like that's what it's about. It's not.
But it's not a public holiday, and you have to take work off to do it. Fuck
because capitalism still reigns here. It's America.
Democracy is the cornerstone, but
The
if
bare
you go to
minimum
work,
is
you can't
voting,
vote.
But also, like the whole illusion where people think that they're going to vote away fascism. You know, they do that meme like, "Oh, I'm going to vote away fascism." First of all, that's how it does work. Okay. Continually fascists have been outvoted and been voted in. It does work.
Yeah, but if you don't and they do take over, that's when violence is necessary.
Democratic formalities no longer produce their legitimating effect, politics could become political, and this Pavlovian democracy could turn fugitive.
Pavlovian.
With Americans becoming increasingly disillusioned with the prospects of electoralism, it is likely that America's illusory democratic legitimacy will hinge on its ability to conjure new threats to it, constantly invoking the threat of fascism, which will help manufacture consent for the existing system.
Come on.
The scapegoating of more
It's
far-right
just not
candidates
true.
like Donald Trump and
Like they try to act like these people are just so pea-brained and they haven't been politically aware enough to remember before Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Like before the fucking Tea Party and shit. Like the election between like George Bush and Al Gore, like
stolen.
Stolen, but like to compare that to Trump being near the seat of power, get the fuck out of my face. Get the fuck out of my face. Like Clinton running against fascism. When? Get the fuck out of my face. Reagan is Reagan the fascist that we defended against that? Right? When in that race it was Jimmy Carter. Like, so my dad voted for Jimmy Carter over Reagan, and his dad called him a communist. Okay,
sounds about right.
They're very Irish Catholic, so.
Bones has a conservative effect that makes the liberal order seem a lot better than it actually is. However, this is certainly not to fetishize revolution and disorganized violent protests. Spectacles of depoliticized and disorganized violent agitation can reinforce the illusion of democracy in its own way. The mythology of American democracy is deeply rooted due to its unique revolutionary history.
I said this.
Unlike America, which was the first country to establish a republic completely freed of feudal vestiges, for most countries in Europe, liberal democracy was established more gradually, through a protracted struggle waged by the oppressed classes against the lingering feudal classes and the conservative factions of the bourgeoisie.
America was not founded as a country. The concept of countries did not exist when America was founded. It also was not founded as a republic. It was founded as a confederacy.
I don't know that.
Take a fucking civics test.
Bourgeoisie who sided with them. Contrary to America, there was an enduring feeling in Europe that the democratic revolution had been left unfinished.
Because France literally was the idea of a nation state. The French Revolution is what gave us the idea of a nation state.
Yeah.
America was never intended to be a country. That's why they're called states, because they were like supposed to. That's like the states and the union. That's what they were called.
Yes.
It was never the country. This is the country. Country is like a term, but like the idea of a nation state didn't exist.
No.
Democratic society. The deeply entrenched myth that the Democratic...
Wait, what? Not worth platforming, but I wanted to share with you for visibility as he's the Jordan Peterson impersonation guy and also my uncle. He went on the Hill spewing genocidal rhetoric I have to encounter every Thanksgiving.
Is that it? Okay, we're done, apparently. He didn't even let anybody know. Cool, great.
He just
awesome content,
immediately
Hasan.
heard
You're so
Jordan
good.
Peterson. That's how it ends.
Mhm.
He
You're a great
Peterson.
content creator.
Is that literally
Hasan.
how it ends? There's no like
Yep.
end card.
Yep.
It just ended right there.
Yep, that's how it ended. You're a great content creator,
I'm trying to
Hasan.
see
You
on
should
my
definitely
monitor
not
where
quit your
the
job.
line is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He is absurd.
Yeah. Hasan maybe said 8 sentences this whole video, but see, the reason I told you, Jack, it's all good because it was his chair half the video, right? He like puts these videos on. He's like, "Oh, someone else could radicalize my audience. I'm gonna go take a break." That's literally why he puts shit like this on. He doesn't watch it. Also, genocide denial is on screen.
Yeah. All right. What do we? Stick with the theme of today.
Democracy.
Coming to kill you. Look behind you. They're already here.
Democracy.
Do we have any democracy ones? No. We didn't get the democracy manifest one, did
It
we?
would be constitutional for the government to target and kill any U.S. citizen with a drone or with a shotgun without due process.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?